Well, good afternoon, everyone, or good morning, wherever you are. My name is Matt Frampton with Urban Slicer Pizza Works, and today we've got a treat for you. It is the first TikTok Live for the Green Mountain Grills channel here on TikTok. I'm here to answer as many questions as possible. I'm going to cook a couple different styles of pizza. I've got two different Green Mountains running today. I've got, well, they're both Jim Bowie's, but one of them we've got set up to do just Neapolitan style pizzas on. So we got the pizza oven running here. And then the other one, we've got two stones, and we're going to do some grilling pizzas right on those stones. You can do it right on the grate. I'll explain that as we go, but I like to use the stones for a little more flexibility. We'll talk through how I like to run them, answer any questions that you have along the way. My beautiful wife, Star, is monitoring the questions, so please throw out as many questions as you want, and I'll answer them as we go. I think what we're going to do first is just talk a little bit about how I like to run these ovens. How many people do we got in the room, babe? Can't tell. A few? Okay. So with the pizza oven attachment, I actually have this set to 240 degrees. The pizza oven itself is isolated away from the thermostat, but what we actually have is, even though this Green Mountain is set to 240, our stone is reading 703. And so that's about where I like it. Between 650 and 725 is ideal for me. That way I know I get the base cooked right and the top cooked right. There have been a lot of questions I've seen on all the forums about the bottom burning or the bottom not getting as done and the top burning. It's really about finding that balance. So if the stone is in that 650 to 725 range, then it will cook right on the bottom and right on the top. So I'm going to run through a couple of different Neapolitans so I can show you how to stretch, how to bake, how to finish. And then on the grilling pizzas, we're going to do something super cool where we pre-bake it and then we're going to put toppings on afterward. If you're not familiar with our products, we make three different styles of dough mix. We make a deep dish pizza, which is meant to cook in a pan, and you can do it on any style of oven. We're not going to do that today. We are doing the outdoor grilling dough, which is a lower gluten blend and has a good ability to stay thin and crispy. So we're going to roll that one out flat and make some thin pizzas with it. And then the Neapolitan style, which is one of the trickier ones to stretch out, that's our highest gluten blend. It's super good for cooking in a high temperature environment like this. Our stone's at 700, our ambient's in the 900 range, and so that's the ideal temperature for that. If you're cooking at a lower temperature with the Neapolitan, you can do it in the oven. You can do it on a grill. There are all kinds of different styles, but the key is just a longer bake if you're at a lower temperature. So it'll cook for about 2.5 minutes in here at the temps we are at for the Neapolitan, and the grilling ones will take somewhere between 10 and 12 minutes when we're all set and done. So I'm going to jump right in. I'm actually going to stretch a grilling pizza, and we're going to get that going. Any questions so far? Okay, I'm going to grab a dough just a second. For those that were trying to tune in a couple of weeks ago, we had a horrible storm here in Omaha, and there was a disaster here in our outdoor kitchen. And so we had to postpone to today. Weather's pretty nice today, although it's about 100 degrees, so I'm going to be sweating here pretty soon. For the grilling dough, actually for all of our stretching, we really want to use enough flour so we don't ever stick. And you can use a rolling pin for this if you want, or you can stretch it by hand. I'm going to show you how to stretch it by hand. I like doing that method. It's really easy to keep it round. All of the dough here I mixed up at 10 o'clock this morning, so it's been 3 hours. And I put it in these disposable individual containers, which are super awesome if you're traveling or camping or doing something like that. You can just get the dough out and toss it. And it also, if you're just starting out, keeps it super round. If you don't want to do this and you can put it out on a tray and cover it with plastic. But the key is you need a good 2 to 4 hours, depending on the temperature in your house, for the dough to rise. There's actual yeast in our blends. As we're moving, and if you want to look at a different phone on social media, we're at Urban Slicer on TikTok, Insta, YouTube, and you can see some of the pictures of what we've done. But today we're going to do a barbecue pizza. We're going to make a cheeseburger pizza. I'm going to do a sausage, garlic, Neapolitan style, and then I'm just going to show you how to make a basic margarita. You can see I'm using a lot of flour. We've got two different types of flour here. One is just some bench flour, which is the same thing that's in the mix. Use a good bread flour. Any all-purpose will work, but a bread flour is good to use. And this is semolina. It's a little grittier than regular flour and can help you if you're struggling to get the pizzas off the peel. I want to walk through that, kind of do some troubleshooting with you, answer questions about that technique. A pizza peel, if you're not familiar, there are two kinds. There's metal. This is a slotted metal peel. There's solid metal peels. And then you can also use a wood peel like this. A wood peel is the most forgiving to start with when you're just starting out to get the dough to launch onto the surface that you want it to go to. The wood will absorb some of the moisture, whereas the metal doesn't absorb anything and it can allow it to stick. So as we go here, I'll show you some tricks to help with all that. We're going to stretch out this grilling dough. When I ball up the dough after I mix it, I just put a small amount of oil in these containers, and it helps it release. And we really want to try and keep it round. So you can see we've got a really round pizza right now. If that comes out and it looks like a football, that's okay, but don't smash it back together because that will create a crust that's really hard to stretch out. It'll make it very tough. So you want to be super gentle. We're just literally going around the edges, being careful like this. On the grilling dough, I start on the outside. And all we're doing is looking to make a really flat, thin and crispy pizza. You can stretch these. All of our mixes make 2 pizzas in the bag, or that's what we say in the instructions. With the grilling one, you can actually stretch this out to a 16-inch. I prefer 13 to 14. If you want, you could make 3 pizzas out of one package and just do some smaller ones. You could even do 4. I've got a couple of videos where I've made 6 little mini pizzas, and we did like Italian tacos, which was pretty cool. Hopefully you can see everything here. Notice I'm just taking my time. If you want, you can flip it over. We've got lots of flour here. That's okay. We're just trying to keep it as round as possible. If for some reason it doesn't turn out round for you, here's a little trick. Take your pizza wheel and you can actually trim it out. If you've got OCD about your pizza being round, you can trim out some of those oblong excess areas. The next thing I want to do is transfer this to a peel. I'm going to use a metal peel. If you're more comfortable, start with wood. But all we're doing is sliding this peel under the crust, getting it onto the peel. We want it to be as round as possible. Now is the time to make sure that we're sliding. See how I'm sticking a little bit right there? What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of flour, or you could take semolina, and we're just going to slide a little under there. Now you can see that pizza's moving nice and free. Now's the time to make sure that's happening. Otherwise, when we go to launch it, if it sticks, it'll fold over. It could get caught, and then this will fold over. Even worse when you have toppings, you have a mess on your stone. So all along the way, we're going to pre-bake this a little bit before we put toppings on it, but we want to make sure it's moving. For the thin and crispies, we're going to use a tool called a docker. You could use a fork if you want, but this is about $4 on Amazon. This one's a Pizza Craft brand. And we're just rolling this over the dough, and we're doing what's called degassing. And this will help keep the big bubbles from forming. This particular style, we want to be super thin and crispy. So, still sliding. Now we're going to go over here. On this one, we're going to put it on a stone. I know I have a hot spot on the right. I'm going to start over there. I may move it over. Just going to babysit it. We're looking for it to stiffen up. We want the bottom to be brown. Then we're going to flip it over, put the toppings on the other side, and then return it to the grill. So I'm going to start over here. And when you launch these, you're not trying to throw the pizza. You're basically just pulling the peel out from underneath the pizza dough. Almost like the dining table trick with the wine glasses that you see in Ghostbusters. Like that. We're going to close the lid. I'm going to set a timer for about 5 minutes. And while we're waiting, I'm going to stretch another one or answer any questions that come up.
Okay, you got a question that says, is that one full grilling dough mix that you have in the container, or did you split it into 2 containers?
Okay, if you didn't hear the question is, was that one full grilling mix in the container, or did I split it into containers? And the answer is that was actually half of a bag. So I made 2 pizzas out of 1 bag. And I'm going to go get the other one right now. Each one of our bags is intended to make 2 pizzas. We also have a sauce. It's intended for 2 pizzas as well. And the grilling dough is super cool because you're going to see what we're doing here. I got a timer set. I'm going to check it here in 4 or 5 minutes. But you can pre-bake these multiple days in advance, and then you can stack them up and just have them ready for a pizza party. So this time of year, if you've got a baseball team or you're just having a party at your pool or something, you can pre-make as many of these as you need and then set them aside and have them ready to go. So that one stuck a little bit when I took it out of the container. I'm just going to do exactly what I just said. I'm going to try and bring this back to round, but I'm not smashing it back into a ball. And I'm going to stretch this.
We've had a lot of new joiners come along, so why don't you explain what you're doing again?
Okay, perfect. Welcome everyone who just joined. We are cooking pizza today. I am Matt Frampton with Urban Slicer Pizza Works. This is the first ever Green Mountain Grill's live TikTok event, and I'm honored to be asked to help out with this. We're making a couple of different styles of pizza today. We're going to make some grilling pizzas, which we're doing over on this, and then we're going to make some Neapolitan style pizzas, which we're doing over here, where we have the Green Mountain Pizza oven running. What I'm doing now is I'm stretching out our grilling dough. This one's intended to be thin and crispy, and so I want to flatten it as much as I can. And with the grilling pizzas, we pre-bake the crust. That helps it set up. It helps it get a little more crispy. It's up to you on your personal preference. You know, how crispy do you want it? We like them overdone in our family, so we're going to cook these quite a bit so they're actually crispy. If you just joined us, one of the tricks is always make sure your pizza's sliding like this. That way when you go to get it onto the grill, it doesn't fold over on itself. And then we're using a docker to degas the dough. This will prevent real big bubbles from forming. Our grilling dough is a lower gluten dough, so by nature it'll stay thin compared to our Neapolitan, which you'll see gets really poofy and big.
Now we've got a question that says, do you always grill both sides?
Good question. So the question is, do I always grill both sides? And the answer is yes. I like to have a little bit of crispiness on the side I'm putting the toppings on. It keeps the sauce and all of the other ingredients from making this soggy. I really like my grilling pizzas to be crispy. They're not burnt like a cracker, but they're definitely beyond a floppy pizza that you may see. So I'm going to throw this one on. We are 4 minutes in. I'm going to show you where we're at. So this one's starting to get some pretty good color. Super hot. I'm going to flip it over. See where we're at on that one? I think this is good. So now we're going to put some toppings on this side and return it to the grill, and we'll cook the other side. See if you can get a good shot there. It bubbles up a little bit like you'd expect a pancake to. That's when you know it should be about ready. And also we're just looking for a good amount of color on that backside. This is a dough scraper, super handy to keep your workspace clean. I'm just going to move some of this flour over. Any questions?
No questions right now.
Okay. So that first side we grilled for 4 minutes. It was on the hotter side of the grill. This next one may take a little bit longer. We're going to make a barbecue pizza. So now we're just going to add a little sauce. I'm going with Rufus Teague's Honey Sweet. Yeah, let me show you what I got here. Rufus Teague Honey Sweet. And this is an awesome sauce for pizza.
Okay, we have a question that says, how much do you like BBQ friend? LOL.
Oh, the question is, how much do I like BB? Is BBQ friend there? Right on, man. Yeah, what's up, dude? Good to see you. Hopefully everyone's having an awesome weekend. We just spent the week in Colorado, a well-needed break for our Urban Slicer team. We zip-lined and went up and did some whitewater rafting. It was pretty cool. First break in a couple years, so that was nice. I'm not going quite to the edge, but on these ones I will go a little bit further. All right. So I went down with some barbecue sauce. I'm going to put some chicken that I actually grilled on the Green Mountain last night. This is just chicken thigh, seasoned lightly. I actually used Rufus Teague meat rub on this one. And let's go with a little bacon. For the grilling pizzas, they won't cook quite as long and they don't cook at quite as hot of a temperature. So if you like your veggies to be cooked down, not crispy, you may want to pre-cook. For sure, meats need to be pre-cooked when you're doing a grilling pizza. We're going to do a little bit of whole milk mozzarella, shredded. When it comes to cheese, fattier cheeses, super important. So if you get into part skim cheeses, that's where you get into a situation where it might look like plastic just a few minutes after you take the pizza off. The high fat content of the whole milk cheeses gives you that nice cheese pull and the stringy taste that you're looking for. And we're going to do a little bit of sharp white cheddar on top of this one. Okay, and again, we're a little more stiff here, so I can actually pull this off. We could put some more flour there if we want it to slide, but in this case, I'm going to be able to just slide it off right onto the grill or stone, whichever I'm using. And it's going to go another 6 to 10 minutes until it's done to where we want it. So I'm just returning it to that stone. I'm going to show you this other one. That has been 4 minutes as well. I'm okay with that. It's not quite as done, but we're going to go ahead and set it aside, and we're going to cook this one in a little bit. While that's going, I'm going to fire up a Neapolitan. Questions?
No questions right now.
Okay. All right.
Oh, we have a question. What do you have in those seasoning shakers up by the flour?
Okay, good question. So here we've got our Pizza Mojos. We've got a white version and a red version. The white Pizza Mojo is a garlic, parm, buttery, herby sort of seasoning. Awesome on all of our pizzas. I put it on just about everything. The red Pizza Mojo has some spice to it. Our son calls it powdered pizza. This one has some fennel in it, and I'm going to make a sausage pizza later. You can actually just take some ground pork or beef, whatever your preference is, and put a couple tablespoons into a pound of meat and make some awesome Italian sausage. Or you can mix this right into a crushed tomato and make a sauce out of it. I also have a lot of users saying they're putting this in their Bloody Mary. So super good. Toppings you can use on just about any pizza. And we like this one on a lot of our Italian styles and this one on our meat. I'm going to put a little of this on the barbecue. I'm going to grab a Neapolitan dough real quick. Just going to let that set for a second. Check on these. I'm just pulling this out so you can see it. But this grilling pizza is starting to cook. It's been about 3 minutes. I want it more stiff than that. I want all this melted. So I'm looking for this to get super done. We've got another 5 minutes or so. Who is that? Big Swede, what's up, dude? I'm glad you like the seasonings, man.
And then BBQ Friend says that white mojo would be awesome with butter painted on the crust.
Yes, I love doing that. Melt some butter. I also will melt this in some butter, and this is my finishing drizzle on my Steak Cook-Off Association steaks. So white mojo in butter.
All right, what are you cooking now?
Okay, now I'm making a Neapolitan style pizza. I'm going to show you how to stretch it. After I do this, I'm going to get into the grilling doughs and I'm going to show you how to stretch again. I want to make sure that everyone gets some good information today with this. So just like we released the grilling dough, the Neapolitan's coming out. You can see how much more air is in that. This is a much higher gluten blend of flours in here. The exact opposite of what we did on the grilling, we're starting in the center on this one. We want to preserve the air around the edge. This is a different style intended to have that poofy, bubbly, airy crust around the outside. So we're building a well. If you recall, I put it top down. I like cooking my pizzas the way they've risen. So it was rising in the bowl this way. So I flipped it back over, the top's back up. I'm going to continue building my crust. And you probably can't hear that, but I'm pushing some air out of there, quite a bit of it. Couple different ways you can stretch. So we can just keep doing this by hand until it's the size we want. You can take your hand and curl it. This is your stretch hand and this is your turning hand. We're stretching like this. Stretch and turn until it's the size you want. That's one way. You can also pick it up. Our Neapolitan dough is very strong. It's very high gluten. In any flour, the higher the gluten, the stronger the dough. The lower the gluten, the weaker the dough. So you can see here, I'm just letting gravity. I'm going to keep moving until it's the size I want. If you wanted to, you could actually toss this. You just don't want to poke a finger through it. And then we're going to put this one on a slotted peel. Hang on one sec. I'm going to put a little semolina on my slotted peel. Whether you're using wood or metal, I recommend a little semolina, cornmeal if you want, just to give you, they act like little ball bearings. But no matter what we're doing here, we're making sure it's still moving. Clean my space here just a little bit. Questions on stretching? Well, I'm going to check on that grilling. Anyone have a question? No questions yet? Okay. Just going to show you here, we're about 6 minutes in. It's getting there. It's still got a little more pliability than I like. I'm going to cook it a little more, but the top's looking good. At this point, I'm going to throw a little of the red mojo on so it cooks in. This is just going to add a little extra spice.
We have a question that says, if you have a tear?
Good question. So if you have a tear, it's possible, and maybe later I'll show an example. We'll tear one on purpose, but you can pinch it back together. If you can't get it to stick and you're doing Neapolitan, I strongly recommend tossing the dough and starting with a new one. We don't want a hole on the Neapolitan. On the grilling one, it's a little more forgiving because you're going to par bake that crust. So if you have tears, it's going to be before your toppings are on. So you won't get sauce or cheese coming through that hole and melting onto the stone or in the grill. So you should be okay, especially if it's a small hole. It'll close up when it bakes. On the Neapolitan style, it's definitely more tricky. If we have a tear in there, it's going to stick to the stone and it's going to be super hard for us to get off.
I have another question. Where did you get those containers and what size?
These are, so the question is, where did I get the containers and what size? I got these at Restaurant Depot, but you can order them off of webstrontstore.com. They're 7.5 inch round, 7 or 7.5, and they're 2 inches deep, or 1.5 or 2 inches deep. There's only one 7 or 7.5 inch version. I think this is 2, but they do make an 1.5 inch. They sell some Glad versions of them at the grocery store as well, if you prefer that.
On the Neapolitan, how thin is the bottom layer? Is it see-through?
Good question. Let's pick it back up. I'll show you. So we can see a little bit through there, but not, we can't see through. We can see some light, but you can't make out my face, as an example. Super thin, though. So that's a good lead in to where I was going to go, is on the Neapolitan style. For sure, when it comes to toppings, less is more. So when it comes to sauce, I just want enough to cover the base. If we get too many watery sauces on there and vegetables and toppings, I like to limit to 4 or 5 toppings at most. If you have too much water in here, it's just going to get soggy. And by nature, this style of pizza is floppy and soggy to begin with. So we're just spreading this out. Our sauce is made, no sugar added. It's thick and bold, so you don't need a ton of it. We're going to make sure we're still sliding, which we are. I'm going to check on.
What happens when the dough doesn't stay stretched and keeps shrinking?
Okay, the question is, what happens if the dough doesn't stay stretched and keeps shrinking? There's a couple of things that can cause that. I'm going to show you this grilling pizza. It's done. We're going to set it aside, and I'm going to put some other things on it here in just a second. So if the dough stretches out and likes to spring back, a couple of things. Either not enough water, it hasn't had a long enough time to proof, or the water that you're using is too hard. Hard water can actually cause hard dough. So the first thing I would look at is your water. If you're positive you have the right amount of water and you're positive that the dough has risen enough, I would then take a look at your water. We take our water, when we're on the road doing demos, we always use bottled water. From our house here in Omaha, the water can be pretty hard out of the tap, so we pull it from the fridge, and then we always know we're using water that's not too hard. If the water is too soft, the reverse can happen. The dough can be really weak and it can tear. So soft water makes softer dough, hard water makes hard dough. We're putting some white mojo on this. This is our version of a margarita. We're going to add basil at the end. And this is going to go on the Neapolitan oven. Right now our stone is at 720 or so, which is about right. So this is a different kind of pizza. The other one we put in there, and I'm not sliding, so that's a good example. Throw some semolina back under there. Make sure we're still moving. Where the grilling dough we took and set it over there and we kept working on something, this style of pizza you do not want to walk away from. We're going to throw it in here, set a timer to 2 minutes, and then check it, give it a 180-degree turn, and then probably another 30 seconds or so. So same thing, we launch it right in there. We're going to shut the door. I'm going to set a timer. I'm going to check it. I'm actually check it in about a minute.
And remind us, what is the sauce that you used?
The sauce that we used is the Urban Slicer pizza sauce. Comes in a can like this. It's intended for 2 pizzas. So you can buy 1 can, one bag, and that'll make 2 pizzas. Just getting some stuff out of the way here. We're at 30 seconds. And we'll check that pizza at the 1-minute mark, and you'll see that it'll be starting to cook, coming along nicely.
What do you do with all that flour? Can you use it again?
All that extra flour we can use again. I'm just cleaning it out because I'm doing different styles. I would not save it to use in any other baking, but you can continue to use it for stretching out like this. We're at the 1-minute mark. Okay, I want to show you where we're at. You can see we've got lots of bubbles compared to what the grilling dough did. Underneath, we're starting to get some color, but it's not burnt. I like pulling it all the way out, turning it at 180 degrees, which is front to back to front, and then putting it back on for another minute. And I'll give you a better look at that when we pull it out when it's done. I want to keep it baking right now. I don't want to slow that process down. The grilling dough I'm going to launch right here. This was our barbecue chicken. I'm a big fan of, hang on. I'm going to stick to what I said and not walk away from this. We're at the 2-minute mark here. Starting to get done. I want a little more color on that outside edge. I like the way this looks. The underneath side's looking good. We're getting some nice, what's called leoparding around the edge. I'm just going to go another 30 seconds. On this grilling pizza, I'm going to do what's called a pub cut. Which is where we cut it into squares. This is popular in Chicago for Chicago thin crust, also popular in St. Louis, if you've ever been to Emo's in St. Louis. Okay, that's 30 more seconds. The stone temp right now is at 720. So I consider that to be done right there. Our ambient's at about 900, stone temp 720. Can you see the underside? So we got some really good leoparding going. It's very, very hot. I'm going to grab a rack here. Hang on one sec. Okay, so now we have the Neapolitan pizza there. I'm going to cut into this. On these, I'm going to do the traditional triangle cut, cutting it into 8. And then we're going to finish. If you've never seen these, it's Gourmet Garden herbs. They make a cilantro, they make parsley, they make an Italian blend, they make basil. These things will stay vibrant, flavorful, aromatic for weeks. So it's just like having chopped fresh basil on the ready. So we've got a little basil. And then we're going to take our zester and our Parmesan wedge. We're going to put some fresh shaved Parmesan on here. And as barbecue friend said, if you wanted to, at this point, you could butter the edge with a little more white mojo. But in general, that's our Urban Slicer margarita pizza. with our sauce, some whole milk mozz, some fresh basil after it's finished, and some shaved parm. Our white mojo's on there too. If you look, we've got some really good characteristics in our dough. Lots of bubbles, very airy, and all done same day. Let's give it a shot. Underside, see, not burnt. We've got lots of good leoparding. Come on over, man. We need some people here to help eat this. I'm going to call my kids. I'm sure they'll love it. Okay, we're going to get back to the grilling one. I'm going to set this aside. How are we doing on questions?
No new questions right
No new questions? Okay. So, okay, perfect. So here's our barbecue pizza. I'm going to finish this one with some cilantro. I like to have color. And I'm not a huge red onion fan. I don't know, that might be blasphemy. But I do like chives. So I'm going to do some fresh chives on top of that barbecue pizza. And there we are with the barbecue pizza. Cut tavern style in squares. You can cut it in triangles if you want. This is kind of a fun way to do it as a party. And as I mentioned before, this particular style, you par bake these crusts. It makes it great for a party, and you can have 20 of them on the ready.
What does par bake mean?
Par bake is short for partial bake or pre-baking. So this one, take a look at the characteristics. Get a good view of that, Star. We've got less bubbles. See, it stayed thin and crispy. Underneath, we still have good color. But this one should have a nice crunch.
And we have a question. Do you recommend cooking the meats for the Neapolitan?
I do. Let me finish that bite. That's pretty good. For the Neapolitan, it's cooking so quick that we really want to make sure that those meats get all the way done. So for Neapolitan, if you want your veggies to be cooked a little more, and for sure the meats need to be cooked. Pepperonis, things like that, those are obviously already cooked or cured, so you don't need to cook those. But definitely cook the meats. If we're doing a deep dish or a longer bake, you can pinch some raw sausage on there, but keep it in the dime size or so it cooks completely all the way through.
Okay, another question here.
Yeah.
I love to use cheese like Gruyere on pizzas, but sometimes they break and become oily. Any tips and observations on how to avoid this?
Maybe shred it a little more. I like that style of cheese as well, but I've never had a real bad grease issue with it. Maybe shoot me a message with the brand and exactly what you're using. You can get me Matt at urbanslicerpizza.com and I'll take a closer look. But if there's too much oil on the pizza, it's just too much cheese, most likely to begin with. But it shouldn't be the cheese itself that's creating too much oil.
And where can we follow you?
You can follow me on Insta, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube at Urban Slicer. And you can also email at matt@urbanslicerpizza.com if you have any questions. Okay, so now we're going to do another grilling pizza. We're actually going to make a cheeseburger pizza. We're going to use our sauce as a base. So this is the Urban Slicer red sauce. We can be a little more heavy-handed with toppings on these grilling pizzas because they're more stiff, they stand up, they're going to bake a little bit longer, and we pre-baked it. So there's a little bit of a crisp barrier here underneath this sauce. All right, and then we're going to add, as weird as it may seem, some mustard. And we're going to put, we made some cheeseburgers last night, so we're going to put some broken up cheeseburger.
So that's already cooked?
This is already cooked, yes. We made cheeseburgers last night, and then I just crumbled them up this morning. There's even still some American cheese on there. These grilling pizzas are awesome for using leftovers. So your brisket, if you're a KCBS cook, using these grilling doughs with your leftover barbecue is awesome. Pulled pork, rib meat, chicken. We're putting some bacon on here with the cheeseburger. And then on this one as well, we're going to do a little whole milk mozz. And we're going to do a little more of the sharp white cheddar just to add a bite. And I'm going to put some red pizza mojo. And then we're going to bake this one, and we'll put some finishing toppings on this as well. So this one's going to go back over here on the oven that we're doing the grilling pizzas on. And I'm going to set a timer for about 6 minutes. If we got a question, Star walked away for just a second. She'll be right back. While we're doing that, I'm going to stretch another Neapolitan. Just going to clean my surface here. I'm going to walk around and check questions. Okay, we don't have any current questions. I'm going to grab another Neapolitan dough. All right. So if you missed the Neapolitan stretch, I'm going to do it again right now.
We have a couple questions.
Yes, questions.
How much time do you recommend between Neapolitan for the stone tip to recover?
Good question. Okay, so the question was, between Neapolitans, how much time do I recommend for the stone to recover? And just to explain that a little bit further, when we put a pizza on the stone, what's going to happen is by nature, that stone's going to absorb some of the moisture, and it's going to drop in temperature. Could drop anywhere from 25 to 50 degrees. I have, from experience, been able to rip through 5, 6, 7 pizzas in a row on here. It'll slowly start to drop, and then I need to give it a good 10, 15 minutes to recover. So I would say every 5 pizzas or so, give yourself a 5 to 10 minute break. But if you cook one, stretch, like this, the stone should recover while you're stretching. So in this case, we're back up to the 720 range that we were at before.
And then another question, does the thin and crispy work well on the pizza attachment?
Question is, does the thin and crispy work well on the pizza attachment? It does, but it takes a little more babysitting. I would recommend using our Neapolitan with the pizza attachment just because of the higher gluten. But you can definitely do a thin and crispy in there. You just have to watch it a little closer. It's going to cook very, very fast. It could be easy to overdo. It also will probably bubble up more than what we're seeing over here just because of those higher temperatures. Okay, so again, I'm building that well. I put it down. I'm flipping it back over, so now the top's back on top. I'm going to continue building that well. You can see how much flour I'm using, which is a ton. A lot of it will fall off. And now's where you can stretch like this if you'd like. Where we're using this hand as the stretch hand, this hand as the turn hand. Or you can just use gravity, which is a good opportunity to shake some of that flour off. And if you're feeling daring, you can toss it. It's nice and strong dough, so this should be pretty forgiving for you to do some things like that with. All right. I'm going to show you a different way to do this, which is we're going to build the pizza here on our mat and then transfer it to our slotted peel.
You got a bubble there. What are you going to do with that?
I've got a little bubble here. That's actually just trapped underneath. I can fix it now, but when it goes onto the peel, it should fix itself since we're using the slotted peel. If you've got a bubble on the end here, this is a small one, but if we have a big one, you can just pop it. Okay. I'm going to check on our grilling pizza real quick.
We have a question. Will hard water also make the Neapolitan terrible?
Hard water shouldn't. Okay, the question was, will hard water also make the Neapolitan tear more? I'll say at its root, hard water, no, will not cause dough to tear more. But what it will do is cause the dough to be harder to stretch, which means you're probably pulling and tearing and stretching harder than you would have to normally. And so in that sense, it could cause that to happen. But the water itself won't cause the dough to tear. It's just going to make it harder to stretch. So when you're pulling and stretching on it, you may have to stretch harder than you normally would, and then you can get a hole. But the hard water will actually make the dough stronger, so it won't make it weaker. Very, very soft water can make the dough tear really easily. All right, we're going to make a sausage pizza. And I like to transfer to my peel right after I add the sauce. It's a little more forgiving. But I want to show you what it looks like if we get it misshapen and have to fix it. So we've got our slotted peel here. I'm going to go with a little semolina on it. And we're just going to slide under here. Pull the pizza up onto the peel. And so now we're not round any longer. Use this peel as your friend. Stretch your dough back out. Try and get yourself a round pizza again. Now's the time. If you have any more bubbles, you can pop them. Again, we're making sure we're sliding, which we are.
Why would you want to pop the bubbles?
So the question is, why would you want to pop the bubbles? If there are big bubbles here, they can actually grow as tall as the top of this pizza oven. So we want to try and get those calmed down before they're in the actual oven. They can get super huge. And if they're in the middle, we don't want that because it'll cause the sauce and all the ingredients to slide over to the side. All right, for this, I'm going to do the sausage on top. I'm just going to do a little bit of whole milk mozz again. And then I'm going to do some Italian sausage. So this sausage was 1 pound of ground pork, 2 heaping tablespoons of our red mojo, and then I just browned it on the stove. And if you have not tried our red mojo to make sausage yet, I strongly recommend it. That's actually how this was born. And then we modified it just a little bit to be a pizza topping. We're going to add a little more red mojo on this one. And on my Italian pizzas, I like to have white mojo, so we're doing that as well. Make sure we're still sliding here, which we are. Okay. I'm going to check on our grilling pizza, and then we'll cook the Neapolitan while the grilling pizza rests for a few minutes. Okay, cheeseburger pizza underneath. Looks pretty good. We've got a little bit of stiffness coming. I'm actually going to call this one. I like the way it looks and feels. It's all personal preference. We're going to put that right there and let it cool for a minute. And then we're going to cook this Neapolitan. All right, if anyone is there that missed the first Neapolitan cook, we're about to do it again. So pay attention again. And I'm just making sure we're sliding. If we're not sliding right now, it's trouble when we go to launch. You'll have a calzone instead of pizza. And I'm just going to go right on the stone just like I did before. Set my timer for a minute. And we'll check it in 1 minute. While that's going, I'm going to clean my plate. Any questions? Any questions? All right. All right, all right. We're cooking our last Neapolitan here. But we'll do one more if we have a lot of new joiners who want to see another one. It's about 100-degree real feel here in Omaha with super high humidity. The flour on my arms is sticking, yeah. Unbelievably hot. So we have a Neapolitan in. We just put it in. It's at the 1 minute mark now. I'm going to check it. Our stone was still at about 720. Ambient should be at about 900. All right. So that's at the 1 minute mark. I'm just going to show everyone. We're going to give this a 180-degree turn. Some people really like to get in there and turn like this. My personal preference is with such a small amount of space in there, just pull the pizza out, grab it on this end, turn it 180, and then put it back in. Is that it? What do you put under the pizza to make it slide? So I put flour while I'm stretching. So by nature, it's going to slide with that. And then I add, this is semolina flour. It's a little more gritty. I just put a little bit on the peel before I move the pizza onto the peel. And then those act as little ball bearings. You can also use cornmeal. As you go from flour to semolina to cornmeal, you're getting grittier. The grittier, the more forgiving it is, and the easier it'll slide. Cornmeal has a unique texture, so if you don't like that super gritty texture, then you may want to try semolina. Flour by itself will work just fine. All right, that's the 2 minute mark. We're getting pretty close. I can smell it. All right, I'm going to call that one good. You can see our base. We've got some great leoparding going on. Got a good view of that. So I'm going to let that set for just a second. I'm going to move over here to our grilling pizza. So this one we did our sauce, our urban slicer sauce, a little bit of mustard, and then we had some leftover cheeseburgers. We got the Joe Biden flag going on here. Oh, wait, no, who was that? Someone had a fly out of my TV. All right. So we cut that. And then we're going to do some fresh chopped tomatoes and pickles to finish off our cheeseburger pizza. Oh, it smells like a cheeseburger, man. I wish you could smell this. And then just a little more white cheddar. Finish it off there. There we go. So that's our cheeseburger pizza. With urban slicer sauce, we've got some mustard, bacon, crumbled up cheeseburgers, and then after it's baked and sliced, we finished it with chopped pickles, chopped tomatoes, and some more mozzarella, or sharp cheddar. We're going to move back over to our Neapolitan. Show you a trick here. So if you're noticing a theme, I really like to use pre, sometimes during, and often post or after cook ingredients. So this one was our urban slicer sauce, some whole milk mozz, both of our mojos, some sausage seasoned with our red mojo. And now that we're finished, we're going to do some basil. We're going to take some ricotta. We're going to do some ricotta dollops all over the pizza. I like cold ricotta dollops as a contrast to the warm pizza. Totally up to you how you want to do this. If you put it on pre-bake, it'll melt down. If you do it post-bake, you can get some pretty cool presentation characteristics like we got here. This is one of my favorite pizzas on earth right here.
I know that, but why? Says I'll take 2 to go.
2 to go. I know that, but why? Come on over. And then we're going to do, this is just olive oil with minced garlic and crushed red pepper. And we're just going to do a drizzle of this spicy garlic oil all over the top of that pizza. And that, my friends, right there is my personal favorite pizza. Just a nice sausage with a robust red sauce. I love cool ricotta on top and that spicy chili oil to finish it off with the basil and the brightness. That's where it's at. I'm going to try this one, make sure we did it right. Also, there's the bottom. Can you see that bottom? Got some characteristics there. That floppiness, that's the way it's supposed to be.
I know that, but why? Since that's not a pizza, that's a masterpiece.
Oh my God. Come on over and eat that. Well, shoot, we're an hour in already, huh? Anybody have any questions? Does anybody want to see me stretch another Neapolitan or a grilling dough?
I know that, but why? Says, where are you located?
We're based in Omaha, Nebraska. Often we're out and about on the barbecue or steak circuit, and I like to bring stuff with me. So if you shoot me a message or follow us on social, I'm also Pitmaster Matt Frampton on social media. I'll usually announce where we're going to be competing. Our next contest, barbecue-wise, we're going to be at the American Royal. I'll be bringing stuff to make pizzas for sure. I'll be at the Green Mountain compound with Sterling and Andy and John Reeves and the whole crew. So if you're coming to the American Royal, definitely stop down and see us, and I'll cook you a pizza.
Okay, we've got a couple of people that would like to see you stretch one more.
You got it. I'm going to grab one more dough, and I'll show you how to stretch. We'll even cook it. 1 sec. I'm going to show this too. This is good. So now we're 4 hours since I made this Neapolitan. And I do want to explain something that I did with this. I've just been tinkering with it. I'm going to make a video. But what I've been doing with the Neapolitan is I've been making it all. So in this case, I made two bags. So for 4 pizzas, I mixed it all and I did what's called a bulk proof. So I took the entire batch after it was mixed and set it aside covered for about 90 minutes. And I let the entire batch rise. Then I split it into individual dough balls and I let it rise for another 2 hours. So I'm still under that 4-hour mark. But what I'm finding is some really cool additional characteristics. Grab that Neapolitan again here. But some more airiness in the crust, where you get those bigger bubbles, You know, unfortunately, with making dough, there's no substitute for time. Just like in barbecue, smoke is a flavor. When we're making dough, whether it's bread or in pizza, time is a flavor. So the longer you let the dough ferment, the better it gets, in my opinion, in the flavor. So you can do what I just described, where we do a same day bulk ferment and split it into dough balls. You can do it exactly as the instructions say. You could ball it up and put it in the refrigerator for a few days, and it will go through a cold fermentation process. And I have some of those instructions out on urbanslicerpizza.com. Question?
We have another question. Says pizza attachment or no pizza attachment for the GMG?
Pizza attachment all the way. For me, Neapolitan style pizza, which is what we're about to make, is where it's at. I mean, that is the best kind of pizza, in my opinion. And you cannot achieve Neapolitan pizza without the attachment. And the reason is the temperature. So in this case, we just checked it. We had a question about stone recovery. Our stone is back to 720. It's been about 7-8 minutes since we took the last one off. So if we continue at this pace, it'll recover. But with that stone at 720, the ambient under here is about 900. So this pizza is going to cook in a little under 3 minutes. You cannot cook that quickly without this environment. Cleaning off some of that flour. So the pizza attachment, if you want to cook Neapolitan style pizza like this, it's really the only way you can do it, is to get that high temperature. All right, we ready to stretch? Everyone in there? Okay. So again, I'm using a ton of flour. That's okay. It's going to come off. I think the number one question I see is, how do I keep my pizza dough from sticking when I'm stretching it or on the peel? And it's very simple. Use a bunch of flour or semolina. So I'm building a well. The dough is upside down right now because I dumped it out like this. I may be superstitious, but I really do believe that the way the dough's been rising is the way it should cook. So I will flip it back over, and I'll continue building my well. And you could just keep doing this the whole time. So we could just keep working this out like this. There's no one way to do it. The only critical piece is you don't want to degas this. We're trying to keep all the air in there. You can also stretch and turn like this, or you can pick it up, which I like to do, and get some of that flour off of there and let gravity do its thing. And you just keep working. You don't want fingers, fists, so we don't poke a hole in it. Dough's strong, but a finger will poke a hole in it. Or, I'm going to set this down for a second. Depending on how you want to throw, we're going to throw like this and catch with our fists. So I'm underneath doing this. Shake a little more flour on there so it doesn't end up all over me. So
Rob says your deep dish in a cast iron pan on the grill is perfect size for pan and a PC. Great option if you don't have a high temp pizza oven.
Thank you very much for pointing that out. So if you can't see the comments or questions on there, our deep dish blend in a cast iron pan, and also if you haven't tried it, there's a company called Lloyd Pans. They make a Detroit style pizza pan, and we'll be doing another live event where we'll do a bunch of deep dishes, but it's kind of its own topic, and there's lots to it that I can show you that I just couldn't get to in an hour. If you don't want the pizza oven, you can also do our grilling pizzas just like we did here. I'm using a stone. That's totally optional. The only reason I did that is for some flexibility. If you're using doing it right on the grate, just remember it's a little more direct and it's going to cook a little more quickly. Clean my surface here real quick, and then we'll cook one more. How many people we got on?
Like
80. All right. We're going to cook one more here. Fast and furious. All right. I am going to just do A little red sauce. All right, we're using the Urban Slicer red sauce with the Urban Slicer Neapolitan dough right now. And I don't think I mentioned this earlier, but you want to try to avoid getting sauce all the way to the edge. With our Neapolitan style, we want this crust around the edge, whereas with the grilling dough, thin and crispy was our goal. So we want to avoid putting the sauce on the edge. That'll weigh it down and keep it from being airy and bubbly like we want. We're doing just a little bit of whole milk mozz. And then we're going to do some white mojo. This is our garlic, herb, parm flavored pizza seasoning. So we've got two mojos. I'm just going to go with white mojo on that one. We want to make sure we're sliding. So I put a little semolina on the peel. We stretched the dough. We put it on there. Just a little bit of cheese. Now we're going to launch it. I'm going to get my timer ready. We're going to launch. Going to set our timer for 1 minute. Check our stone if you want, if it's been a while. Make sure we're running right. All right, the stone is now 790. So what that tells me is that this pizza is going to cook a lot quicker on the bottom than the first couple. We got to chatting. This thing's been running. So I'm going to have to babysit it a little more. We're going to let it go 1 hour. I'm sorry, 1 minute. 1 minute. If you saw that flame there, that was a little flour that just caught on fire. Okay, so the question is, I've noticed on my GMG I need to oil or butter the edges so they brown because you're not using the pizza oven. Definitely a common complaint, and there's nothing wrong with that. And especially if you use like an avocado oil with a really high smoke point, you won't notice any oiliness after the bake, but it will help brown it up. It's also a trick that I'll do in the oven as well. The grilling dough, if that's the dough you're using, has less sugar in it, so it doesn't burn when it's right over a live fire. I'm going to grab my other peel just a sec. The Neapolitan has a little more malt and sweetness in it, and that's to help it color. That's also to help it rise more quickly. So it's the sugars in the mixes actually act as a food to help the yeast grow. So remember I mentioned our stone's a little hotter. That's not overdone. I still like where it's at, but the bottom is cooking more quickly than the top right now. So I'm glad this happened. What we can do at this point is we can do what's called doming and keep it off the stone, but in the oven until it's done. It's still 900 degrees inside that oven. You see? New Year?
No, New Year.
Oh, New Year? We're in Omaha, Nebraska. Our company is Urban Slicer Pizza Works, and we've taken over the Green Mountain Grill's TikTok page for some live pizza cooking today. And right now we are cooking a Neapolitan style pizza. And I'm showing an example of when the bottom cooks too much or cooks too quickly and we need to get the top done a little more. See, our bottom's still good. We did what's called doming, where I'm holding it off the stone but still in the oven so the top will cook. We're almost done. So there we go. That's the 3-minute mark right there. Let's take a look at this pizza. So now our outside edge looks good. We've got this leoparding. Our base, in my opinion, is perfectly cooked. And then we're just going to slice this up, take a look at what it looks like.
So now, where do you get that oven?
The pizza oven attachment is sold by just about every single Green Mountain Grills dealer. This oven is specific for the GMG, although I have heard of other people running it on different pellet cookers, but it's designed specifically for this. The oven is about $139. Sometimes on Labor Day and Black Friday it is discounted a little bit, but between $100 and $140, depending on if it's on sale or not. If you already have a Green Mountain grill, this is by far your cheapest entry into making Neapolitan style pizza. There are other options out there, but they're in the $500-$700 range and higher, and they're just for pizza. Whereas if you have a Green Mountain, whether you have a Daniel Boone or Jim Bowie or one of the new models, which are the same sizes, that pizza oven will fit on both. If you have a Davy Crockett, there's an oven for the Davy Crockett as well. It's just smaller. This is a 13-inch pizza. The Davy Crockett will cook about a 10.
Someone asks, do you have your own TikTok page?
I do have my own TikTok page, so thank you for asking. And I would love for everyone to go give us a follow. We just started. We have some TikToks out there now. We're at Urban Slicer. We're also on Instagram with a ton of content, Facebook and Twitter and YouTube at Urban Slicer. We announce to all of them when we have something new coming, and whether it's a new product or a new recipe. Our website, urbanslicerpizza.com, is full of recipes just like this and more. We have a breakfast pizza called the Hangover. We've got a French dip pizza out there called the Are You Kidding Me? So lots of good options out there for you to get started with. And we just try to be as resourceful as we can. So any of our social media channels, if you send us a message, we respond within 24 hours or so. And I mean, that's part of our deal is we want to make pizza cooking as easy as possible for you and get you there as quickly as possible. So we try and help as much as we can.
Another question, can you put any pizza stone on a grill?
Question is, can you put any pizza stone on a grill? The answer is yes, but you do get what you pay for when it comes to a pizza stone. So a thinner, cheap pizza stone is more susceptible to cracking. A thicker, more expensive pizza stone is going to hold up under higher temperatures for a longer period of time. These pizza stones I have here were made by a company called Kettle Pizza, and they're pretty thick. And both of those I've had for 8 years. You can see I've got a chip even, but it didn't break. So those are good stones. The Green Mountain Grill stone, you can take and put in a regular oven if you want. It's got some little legs on it, which is pretty cool. Works great in your oven. Works great on a grill. And so you can use it in this oven or you can use it somewhere else. But a stone will give you a really good base to put a pizza on, help crisp it up. And there are also pizza steels that you can buy. They're obviously less breakable because they're made out of steel. They do the same thing. I do like the recovery of the stones a little bit better. I like the crispness. The stone absorbs some of the moisture out of the pizza, so you get a crispier dough.
All right, looks like that's about all of our questions for right now.
All right.
Can you remind everyone where we can find you again?
Yeah, so it looks like if you didn't hear Star, it looks like our questions are out for now. I really appreciate everyone jumping on. We went a little longer than an hour, but it felt like 5 minutes to me. You can find us at Urban Slicer on all social media. So Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. Our website is urbanslicerpizza.com. My name is Matt Frampton. I'm the owner of Urban Slicer Pizza Works along with my wife Star. If you have any questions at all or you need any help getting going on your Green Mountain Grills for cooking pizzas, please reach out. We've been a long time ambassador of Green Mountain Grills. I know all of the ins and outs of how to cook different styles of pizza on these things, and you truly need nothing else than a Green Mountain Grills to do everything you want.
We've got one last question.
One more question?
And she says, which grill are you using?
Okay, the question is, which grill am I using? We have the Jim Bowie. Both of these are Jim Bowies, but you can achieve the same exact thing on the Daniel Boones as well. This is the larger model of the Green Mountain. Yeah. What's that? Oh, yeah. So thank you everyone for joining. Thank you Green Mountain Grills for letting me jump on your page today. I know the social media director is on vacation, so hopefully you're not spending too much time watching me nose around with some pizzas here. But happy birthday, brother! And to everyone else, have a wonderful day. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you soon. Have a good one.
We actually have another question.
Oh, one more question.
Have you used an uni?
I have used an uni. I own an uni. I like the uni. It's obviously the most portable thing out there. They're super lightweight. You can throw it in the trunk of any car. I would recommend getting the large 16-inch version. The smaller ones are really hard to maneuver a pizza in there, but they cook great. Neapolitan style is about all you're going to be able to do, whereas on these you can do grilling, you can do pan and Neapolitan style, but they're a great oven. Yeah. All right. Thank you all. Have a wonderful day.